Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today we're going to be covering builds you guys can try in 7.35 Honestly, it took me quite a bit of time to make this video because, well, previously, all I had to do was recommend buying Solar Crest. For this video, things were a lot harder. I really had to dig into what people are doing, the different builds people are trying, and cool but also very strong builds. I didn't want to just give builds that are like some sort of meme. Like there's like the Kanata item on Axe. I mean, it's cool, but I definitely don't think it's good, unfortunately. And so, yeah, all of these builds I think are very legitimately good for solo queue. And let's get into it. Alright, before we get into the main part of the video, I do want to let you guys know that I'm not only posting videos here on YouTube, I also frequently post videos on the website. If you don't know what I'm talking about, almost every single day I'm posting a new video to the GameLeap website. We're going to teach you guys in depth about how to get to the next level. So if you want to become absolutely broken, click the link down below and sign up. Alright, starting off with the first builds, I've kind of combined three heroes because it's the same build. There are variants after the first item, but the first item is the key, and that first item is Shiva's. Shiva's was just nerfed, but I still think it's one of the most powerful items of the patch. It gives a lot of heroes that need a sustain item in the laning stage, specifically offlaners, the option to build Helm of Iron Will. And so Shiva's, or Shiva's Rush on Timbersaw, Death Prophet, and Sand King. Of course, each of these heroes will need to buy mana boots sometimes, a magic wand, Timber will want to buy a soul ring before he completes Shiva's. It's not that you just rush Shiva's, but the first primary item that you're going to buy outside of the first necessary items, right? If you're playing Death Prophet, naturally you're going to be buying, wand, raindrops. If you're playing Sand King, Veil, then Blink, and then back into Shiva's, right? So you're not just straight up rushing the item. The only hero that can semi-rush it is Timber, but once again, you're going to be buying mana boots with wand, with soul ring, and then you're going to be rushing. And why is this good? Well, the item's just strong. Now, would I rush this item every game? Personally, no. I would say in a lot of games it's going to be very good. I would say on a hero like Sand King that super lacks the armor, it's definitely good. Death Prophet tends to be the same, and even Timber to some extent, which is why the item's good. But if the enemy does majority magic damage, you're going to want to consider stopping for a magic block item. On Sand King, that could be Pipe, it could be Glimmer. I really believe that's a good core item. It could be the Shroud. Right, you just have to look at the enemy team and say, are they mostly physical? Are they mostly magical? And then fit the Shivas in either earlier or later, depending on these things. All right, getting into the second build, we have Darkseer. Darkseer's win rate has increased as of late. I think the hero's very good. It's been buffed a couple times as well. They buffed the ulti recently, they buffed the Ion Shell recently, and I think just a pretty normal build on the hero is very powerful. I was playing it, and I was buying Solar Crest recently, but of course you can't do that anymore, right? That's just not an option. So what do you buy on this hero? Well, you're going to want to buy mana boots, of course. I actually think rushing mana boots tends to be the best build. That's my favorite build. Like, just straight up rush the mana boots. It feels very strong in my opinion. After you rush the mana boots, you're going to go mech. And I think the reason why I like this build the most is the mech, you get to buy headdress, gives you a little bit of sustain, right? Just helps out with that sustain, because the only other item you can buy instead, which I do think is reasonable too, is Veil, right? Because you're going to be buying Helm of the Iron Will, which yes, did just get nerfed. But at the end of the day, your hero doesn't necessarily need the armor. Darkseer's armor is like, okay, but it's fine with the armor. And then you want that HP regen so that you can go back for Soul Ring, build up your HP pool a bit, and have the item for mana. And so yeah, you can either just go with Shiva's, or you can go the Aura build. I still think the Aura builds are very strong. They just buffed Greaves a little bit. I think Pipe is still fine. So personally, the build I'll be going is mech. And then I'm actually going to consider still buying Pavis. I think this item as a standalone item on a hero like Darkseer is great, right? Just having the ability to run in yourself, right? Have such an effective HP pool in the early game allows you to be this mid-game, early to mid-game menace that Darkseer often wants to be. So I'm still going to consider buying Pavis, and then maybe in the late game, when my hero starts to fall off and I become more of just a enabler, right? Vacuum, Surge, Wall of Replica, when that becomes my job, I'll upgrade the Pavis into a Solar Crest, and I'll start, instead of clicking it on myself, maybe my allies, but mostly myself to help myself farm Ancients, or myself to run in team fights with Ion Shells, I'll start clicking it for the added bonuses on my Luna, my Medusa, whatever I have, right? All right, getting into the third hero is one of the most buffed heroes of 7.35. Poof apparently now one-shots creep waves at level 7, which is a big deal. It makes the hero a much better farmer. And so I've heard this be the major celebration of Meepo players as of late. So what is the item build? Well, the item build is going to be pretty standard from what I've seen. It's going to be Diffusal and Axe. Of course, you can buy a Wraith Band to start. You have to buy Treads, naturally. And then you buy a Diffusal. This basically allows you to close the gap you know, it's a good stat item on Meepo, but then it allows you to close the gap. After Diffusal, which is going to be your primary damage item, you're going to buy Ags. The Ags is just such a nice item for stats. And then, of course, it's going to give you the capability to stack your Meepos on top of each other, become tanky and very hard to kill. From there, it's just Shard, and then whatever other stat items you're going to tend to buy on Meepo. Alright, for our next build, we have Abaddon, who is one of the main Solar Crest buyers of last patch, but now Solar Crest doesn't feel nearly as good because you can't give yourself the attack speed anymore. The item's ability to let you flash farm is way worse, has a mana cost, and you can't get the attack speed. What is the build? Well, I think there's two builds you can go now for offlane Abaddon that I would recommend, which is either Diffusal into Manta or Echo into Manta. I think either are good. I think Diffusal is a bit of a better early game item. I think the gap close of Diffusal is really nice for Abaddon. But I do want to say that there's some items you should buy beforehand, which is going to be Orb of Corrosion for the armor and attack speed that is extremely useful and slow, right? This item is absolutely perfect for Abaddon. Everything it gives now is exactly what you want. This is the perfect Abaddon item. So Corrosion, into Phase Boots, into Diffusal, maybe Treads are okay. I don't hate the idea of Treads. Phase Boots, Wand, Raindrops, into Diffusal, into Manta, or Echo into Manta. Either is fine. Next up, we have Juggernaut, who just received a very significant buff in 7.35 and now a super significant buff in 7.35b, increasing the damage per spin at all levels. The ability now does like 375 damage at level 1. It's about half of most heroes' HP pools in the early game, and that's pretty impressive. I mean, it was already like a third, right? Or maybe a bit above that, but right, it's pretty insane. And yeah, how the hero works is now Spin does damage based on attack speed. So the ability can actually scale. It will do very heavy amounts of damage just by natural item progression, which is cool. It's cool. It makes the hero scale way better. Now it's a 50% win rate. Now, I don't want to say I think Jug is a broken hero. I really don't. I think it's just an average hero. I think a lot of carries aren't that good right now, but I think Jug is one of the better ones, slightly above average. But here's the builds, okay? So I think you can go Battle Fury into Sanch and Yasha into Butterfly. The Butterfly is going to give you attack speed based off of all your stats, right? Off your base stats. And that attack speed and all these stats is going to make the Spin do a lot of damage. This will also just make you very tanky, right-click hard, and be the general frontliner Jug wants to be. Or if you want to fight in the early game, you rush a Diffusal. This is going to be very strong because the hero is a better fighter now due to the Q buff and some of his other buffs, and Diffusal is the best item to close the gap and stick on top of people in the early game, by far. And then after Diffusal, you're going to go Manta into Butterfly. You also could go Sanch and Yasha if you want a bit of an HP pool, that's fine too. And finally is Mjolnir into Yasha into Ags, or Mjolnir into Diffusal into Ags. The reason why Mjolnir is better now is it gives more attack speed, and that's good for Omni Slash, right? It's definitely nice for Omni Slash. I think the current place of Maelstrom is very good for Juggernaut. Definitely benefits the hero. Now, I think where the Mjolnir gets hard is it doesn't give you any sustain. It's not necessarily the best for fighting early, right? That's Diffusal. The sustain of Battle Fury, right, from the Cornucopia is nice. So you will have to be buying like Wand, Raindrops, Clarities to help deal with this. But I would say the overall scaling of Mjolnir is a bit better. I feel like this item is higher DPS than Battle Fury, especially if you're solo Omni-slashing someone. It certainly is, because of the attack speed. And then from there, you buy Diffusal or Yasha. The reason why is you need some form of gap close. You need the ability to stick on top of people. Either item is going to let you do this. I think the reason why Yasha is probably more popular is it will later build into a Sanj, and this gives you the HP you kind of need, or a Manta, which is just a good Jug item for dispelling. And then you buy Ags. The reason why Ags is particularly good with Mjolnir is Mjolnir gives you such high attack speed that it allows the Ags to just actually be a significant amount of damage. And so this is the build I personally prefer, but they're all strong. All right, next up we have Viper, who just got nerfed, and Solar Crest is no longer good on the hero, but I think Dragonlance into Pike is a very powerful build. Something I've seen some Vipers do is that you can now buy Parasma on the hero, which is a cool take. I'm not exactly sold on it, but basically your attacks reduce the enemy's magic resistance by 20%. For 4 seconds. So you try to get this with Grove Bow with your level 10 talent, which did get nerfed, with your other level 20 talent, which did get nerfed, with your Shard, which did get nerfed. So you can kind of see the line, but the nerfs were not that significant. I still think this build is very, very strong, and it's certainly a cool option. And the only other build I've seen that scales into the late game for Viper is Revenant's Brooch, which gives you a super high amount of damage, spell life steal, and then lets your attacks do magic damage, which is pretty cool. So you can kind of stack a lot of these items. Like you can buy Revenant's Brooch with the Parasma, and the Parasma will give you the mana pool to use the Revenant's Brooch, and you will hit obscenely hard if you can combine these items. So Like, if you can manage to reach this point where you go Hurricane Pike into BKB, Hurricane Pike into Manta, then into Parasma, then into Revenant's Brooch, you'll hit like an absolute truck. It scales incredibly well. And yeah, I think Viper's just general buffs in 7.35 were good enough to make this hero very strong even still. Then we have Drow. She got a lot of buffs. Her E got buffed, her Shard got buffed, a couple of other things got buffed too. The hero's just been getting buffed as of late. Its win rate's pretty solid. It's actually one of the higher win rate carries on Dota buff. Its overall win rate's solid. And I think the build, I think there's a few builds you can go. I think you can go Midas. I think it's definitely a Midas hero because you want to AFK farm early game for the most part. If you don't want to AFK farm, you want to be semi-active, you can go Dragonlance and help out in the early fights with multi-shot. Then after that, you're just going to buy Dragonlance if the game requires a Pike. You want a 4-staff because your matchups, maybe you're against Clock or whatever Slark. You can go Manta, which is going to be higher damage overall. Item just got buffed too, twice actually now. And then you go Butterfly. The reason why you go Butterfly is it's going to give you, your ulti gives you agility, and then the Butterfly gives you more attack speed from that agility. So you'll hit like obscenely fast, right? Very, very fast. And then you buy your Shard. The only other build you can go on this hero that I would say is good is Ags. If the Ags is good that game, right? The anti-healing is particularly strong, or you think it's just good for flash farming, then you can go that build, right? So those are the two options in my opinion. And finally, the last build that I really like is Undying. This is a hero that just got buffed in 7.35, and he takes advantage of the slight buffs of the new Holy Locket, which is slightly cheaper, and it gives more HP and mana when you use it on your allies. So the build I recommend is actually more of a skill build, which is you're going to be maxing your Soul Rip, which now accounts your hero as a unit in the Soul Rip, right? The ability heals and does damage based on the total units around you, and now it counts Undying in that, which is cool, right? It's definitely nice. And so the build I recommend is either a 2-4-0 for mana purposes, right? 2 points Decay, 4 points Soul Rip, no points Tombstone, obviously a point in ulti at 6, too good. Or a 1-4-1, which I think is probably the more reasonable build. The point in Tombstone is good, right? You can take it at level 2 to get your kill and then max out Soul Rip from there. Right, if the lane calls for it. But yeah, they buffed the W's mana cost, they buffed its effectiveness, they buffed Holy Locket, and I just think that Holy Locket Undying is strong, man. The amount of heals you can provide while being a tanky frontliner at the same time is pretty unbelievable. Like, you guys will be shocked if you actually use this build. And then from there, you buy Greaves, right? Obviously, before Locket, you're probably going to want to buy Mana Boots, otherwise you won't have mana. And yeah, you get to buy a Bassi now in the laning stage, which is really nice. It helps out with this hero's mana in the early game, which is nice. But all right, that's going to be all for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you take some of these builds and go use them. I think Meepo is a really, really cool one. It's the second highest win rate. The highest win rate on Dota buff right now is Arc Warden. Which is like, I don't know if it's because of Smurfs or, I mean, I think the hero's unironically just good. But thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next one. And I'm out. Peace.
And that's all, but remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the Game Leap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace.